It looks like we can fully expect some lineup changes as the Flames carry on into one of the final weeks of the season.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today, we are going to talk about just the absolute craziness that took place on Long Island this weekend and just how significant Matt Coronato's performance has been this year. And we're going to talk about some updates from practice. Is Mikael Backlund maybe going to see some ice time tomorrow night? And the Flames did make a signing with an NCAA goaltender. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's just jump right into this because I feel like the vibes are good. Okay. The Flames just put out an episode of The Chase, which is their behind the scenes following of the team. And it was the episode of the six game road trip. And it was a tough road trip, but you can see that this team really believes in themselves and, they really vibe well together. That chemistry is there. And you see that throughout that trip, but also in this most recent game against the Islanders. It was just a great effort. Kadri had the overtime winner, and Coronato, of course, had 2 goals. Like the hometown kid, he talked with, I think it was Eric Francis or Salim Valji about how his mom, he had a homemade meal that night and she made his favorite meatballs and he was so happy to have a home cooked meal and that was what he needed. So Mrs. Coronato, if you would like to move out to Calgary and just go on the road with your son, that would be much appreciated. But in all seriousness, it is great to see him hit the 20 goal mark. He really is the most improved player this year, I will say. I think that he has overcome the doubt that management had early on in the season. Number one, to make him the 13th forward, have him scratched the first 3 games of the season, and then have him make his season debut against the Oilers in Edmonton, play a few games, and then get sent down to the Wranglers, and then he comes back and has been on a tear ever since. He has been so consistent this season, and it is great to see. I'm not saying it'll happen next season, but I think within the next 2 years, we see him hit that 30-goal mark. Piece of cake. Speaking of the 30-goal mark, Jonathan Huberdeau climbs closer to 30 goals with his 28th of the season. Just absolutely, I don't know. I was listening to 32 Thoughts today, and Elliot Friedman called it, he said that Jonathan Huberdeau was playing like Benjamin Button, where he's aging in reverse, and just you're seeing this Jonathan Huberdeau that you haven't seen as a Calgary Flame. And yes, I understand that he's making all this money and he should be doing this and he should be doing that. But you know what? He can't do all that without taking this step. And just the fact that he is this close to 30 goals is great. And it's something that, should be celebrated and looked at with positivity, because this is not what you expected from him this year. And you kind of just go into the season thinking, oh, here we go. Here's another Jonathan Huberdeau season. Blah, blah, blah. One more year closer to the contract ending. But he has been good. And I understand he isn't up in that 70-point threshold that I would have liked to see him in. But he is scoring. He is finding the back of the net. It's not just about his passes. While he does have some great assists and great passing leading up to plays, of course, I am very happy to see that he's just scoring in general, considering the team has struggled with that all season long. Mackenzie Weegar and Joel Farabee did miss Saturday's game. Weegar is nursing a lower body injury, and Farabee had some sort of illness. So it sounds like they'll both be back tomorrow against Seattle, which will be great. I also just want to give Dan Vladar a lot of credit too, because he played very well. First time playing on Long Island, actually. And it did not faze him in the slightest when things got tough. I just pulled up the box score again, and he did allow three goals on 29 shots. Not great, a sub 900 save percentage. But again, I think this is one of those scenarios where the score sheet doesn't necessarily reflect the player's performance. Just the fact that he stayed in there and looked good, and he didn't get rocked. And I will take that. Considering the Flames basically put out a lineup of 7 defensemen, I'll take it. Like, I was not expecting much when I saw those pairings. I thought, well, pack it up. Let's just go home, because just not, it was bad. And I think that is also going to be an issue this summer that they hopefully address when it comes to acquiring maybe some real defensemen. But one thing I did want to note too is that the Flames only had 1 penalty this whole game. They didn't score on the power play, but you know what? It was just 1 penalty. One other thing I wanted to note as well is that just Matt Coronato, once again, just huge performance from him. I think that you can get used to this, and you will continue to see this from him. And I fully expect Connor Zary to be right up there with him too next season as well. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the latest updates out of practice. Already getting ahead of myself thinking about next summer. And, is it a possibility that Mikael Backlund is back against Seattle? Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling full longer. I live by Wonderful Pistachios. At the end of the month, I work in sales. I don't always have time to eat a full, nice, nourishing, home-cooked meal. So I grab my pistachios in between customers when I'm at my desk in the back so I can stay fueled and get the job done. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And it was a kind of a big day at practice. Mikael Backlund was skating over the weekend and then with the team today. And then Salam Valji tweets out, based off of today's practice and the fact that Yegor Sharangovich was filling in for Martin Pospisil, who had a maintenance day, and Sharangovich's declining play, I wonder if he's a scratch on Tuesday versus Seattle should Backlund return, which is likely. For context, if Sharangovich was expected to be in the lineup, he'd have taken line rushes on his separate line, and the extra forward, Dryden Hunt, in today's case, would have filled in for Pospisil alongside Kadri and Zary. It looks like Sharangovich is going to sit. That's tough. You guys, his extension hasn't even kicked in yet, and he's been scratched, what, 4 times this season? We have 5 more years of this. I understand why Conroy wanted to, get a young player locked up or whatever, but I think he jumped the gun here. I do. And I kind of felt like that back then, but you know, some decline is expected after a crazy career year like that. But ouch. um, it's not necessarily something you want to see at all, but especially a player you have locked up for the next 5 seasons. I think that this is going to unfortunately cause some reevaluating in the Flames plan, in the roster management going forward, and potentially how it looks for the other young guys that are going to be needing these contracts. But the thing with Sharangovich is, you knew what you were getting when you traded for Sharangovich. It wasn't a secret. It wasn't, some sort of like lemon. Like you knew upfront what you were getting out of Sharangovich, and last year just happened to be a great year. So let's take a look at his stats for the last 5 games. He is averaging between 14 and 16 minutes a night. We're looking at more around the 15 and a half mark. He has 1 point in his last 5 games. And I think plus minus is like a ridiculous stat, to be entirely honest. But he is a -4 in the last 5 games. He has shot the puck. He's only had 5 shots in the last 5 games. Not necessarily something you want to see. I mean, we know that this team does struggle offensively, and you're not going to score if you don't shoot. And I'm not necessarily sure what is going on here, but something needs to be addressed. I know that he started this season injured and, was a little slow behind the 8 ball there, but we're in March, basically April at this point. What is the reason that we have not seen any sort of like a stretch of offense from him, consistent offense from him? I guess I'm just disappointed in his performance, as well as Conroy's decision to extend him that long, that early. But on the bright side, Backlund may be coming back to the lineup tomorrow night. This would be huge. The Flames have sorely missed Backlund at the faceoff dot. As we have seen, they only won not even 45% of their faceoffs against the Islanders. I'm trying to pull that up really quick. It was it wasn't even 35%. It was a 34.5% faceoff win percentage. That's not great. That is unacceptable. That's one of the things that I look at, and I just think, how does this team think they are going to, number one, make the playoffs, but also like do anything in the playoffs? It just feels like a waste. But Backlund does take a lot of those hefty face-offs but it's concerning that they don't necessarily have someone capable of doing that, at his understudy, I guess you could say. I think if you put Zary on the dot more often, you would probably see some more luck there and have him work out, iron out those kinks. But again, what do I know? I'm just out here throwing ideas. I do think that there's still plenty of room to grow for this roster, but should they make the playoffs, St. Louis is going on an absolute tear. So it's like, I don't want to count the Flames out, but St. Louis is making it a little harder for them to squeak back in. But, Backlund did skate over the weekend. He skated again today. Huska said at practice today that it's too early to tell if he'll be playing against Seattle at home. I understand that. I do. It was an upper body injury. It's not something you necessarily want to rush a player back from. Backlund is older, and you're hoping to make a playoff run. You don't want to uh, prematurely throw him back in the thick of things. Like, yeah, these games are meaningful, but it can't just fall on his shoulders. So we do wish him the best of luck. I hope he's been, at least able to relax and kind of stay busy and stay focused, but also not have to think too much. I think that Backlund is an underrated center in the league in general. Does he drive me crazy sometimes? Yeah, but I don't think it's necessarily like his fault. I think it's sometimes a coaching decision. But who knows what we might see? He has 1 year left on his contract. What do we get? What happens? What happens at the end of next season with Backlund? I guess we'll find out then. But coming up next, we're going to talk about some fresh blood entering the organization with young goaltender Owen Say coming up here next on Locked on Flames. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Yep, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's so easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it is a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can just use Monarch Money to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan those long-term goals, whether it's paying off a car, paying off a loan, buying a house, maybe just building a little bit of a savings account. And also, you have to start somewhere, right? Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off of your first year. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. So this afternoon, it was announced that the Calgary Flames are adding to their goaltending depth by signing Owen Say to a 1 year, two-way contract. The deal for Say will start in 2025, 2026, so this upcoming season, with an AAV of $872,500. He played with the University of Notre Dame in the NCAA. He had 27 appearances, a record of 10-15-0. Argue with a wall over wins and losses as a goalie stat, with a 2.82 goals against average and a 920 save percentage. I'm sorry, but those two stats speak to me more than the wins and losses, because it does not take just a goalie to win a game. It does not take a goaltender to lose a game. You win and lose as a team. But anyways, that's besides the point. This is pretty neat. He's a London, Ontario native, and I guess, why not? Sure. I think that it's always important to be adding to your depth chart, especially in a position like goaltending, because it can be finicky. It can be unpredictable. Not that it can be unpredictable. It is unpredictable. This does make me wonder what the plan is for next year. Dan Vladar's contract is up at the end of this season. Are they going to be extending him? Are they going to be exploring the market? I'm not saying that this kid would jump to the NHL by any means, but I'm curious to see how this addition kind of shuffles things around. I don't really think that there's any big names on the market necessarily this summer for goalies. So this could be an opportunity for them to extend Vladar. I mean, another year, 2 years at most, maybe 3. I don't necessarily, I feel like 3 might be pushing it, but I also am fine with them exploring other options. I mean, you have Devin Cooley, who has been playing very well this season with the Wranglers, and you want Dustin Wolf to be playing a bulk of these games. You want him to be your starter. He is your starter. There is no more 1-for-1, tit for tat, every other night situation here. And we know this. Now, like this season declared that it I feel like the goaltending situation really kind of declared itself. I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing how goaltending has been handled this year. The fact that Dustin Wolf is a rookie and is in the conversation for the Calder, the Vezina, and the Hart Trophy, I mean, what can you say other than he has played well? And we know that he is the MVP of this team. We know that. And we are so lucky that we get to see it night after night after night, and not just when our team plays him, because he is a flame. And I think it's just a testament to who he is as a goaltender, right? All we hear about, he's small. He's not big enough to play in the NHL. That's all we heard last year when he was struggling. And now suddenly those conversations have vanished. He has always been technically sound. He has always had great reflexes and puck tracking skills. This isn't new. The only thing that was truly new was consistently playing in the NHL. Like, I don't necessarily think there was an argument for, oh, he's too small. No. There was a lot of moving parts last season, and we've moved on from that. We have moved on to that, and we are looking forward. I think that he is one of like the most like level-headed and like locked in players that I've seen. I mean, I know that's kind of hard to judge, I guess, but based off of his interviews and the way that he talks about his training, and his resume speaks for itself. He's not out there goofing off. And if he is, I could only imagine how good he would be if he was 100% locked in. But I don't think there's anyone out there that takes their job more seriously than Dustin Wolf. And he knows that he has a job to do. And I'm so excited to see, what he brings to this organization. And I truly hope that he signs long term. Otherwise, Flames are going to be in trouble. But that is a can of worms for an entirely different day. Let's stick with the positive vibes as the Flames finish out this year, and not even just this year, but this week. They are 2 weeks away from their last 3 home games of the season, and then they wrap it up in LA. Does it come down to game 82 to declare them a playoff team, like for them to clinch a playoff spot? Or do they do it before? Or do they get eliminated from contention before that? Who knows? But I think this is going to be a great week. They play Seattle and then they play Dallas. And I mean, if you want a test, look no further than the Dallas Stars. I'm excited to see if the Stars are going to get up for this one or not, because we know that some teams have a little bit of a problem getting up against mushy middle and mediocre and bad teams. So we will see what that looks like later this week. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And you can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. And I will see you all tomorrow, and I hope you have a fantastic evening. Stay safe, stay warm, stay dry, stay cool, stay hydrated, and remember to be kind.